Hey there everybody, this is John. I'm back for another session on chalkboard. And guess what? A couple of weeks ago, we did a video about a young chap who went through a lot of hardship, and sort of went into the motivational speaker line of work. And from there, we drew several lessons about whether, motivational speakers or trainers and coaches had an easy life out of that. And guess what? Today we've got him here. So we're gonna try to see what are some of the life lessons that we can learn from Nicky's life, the hardships that he's gone through and the lessons that he's learned. So hopefully we'll be able to draw some good things out of that. How about a little bit of introduction about who you are? I know that you were a motivational speaker for a while.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell us about what led you to that path.
I think it was one time in my life where, at least it was several times in my life where I was going through a little bit of a difficult time.
Right.
Not once, but many times. And
Right.
I decided that all this has to be for a greater reason. And I think through that, it led me on to decide what do I want to do. How can I channel all this pain, right?
Right.
And I think it just eventually led me towards trying to help other people. For me personally, I realized that there's a struggle between trying to be everyone's superhero and trying to be everyone's friend.
Right.
Yeah. So I think finding that balance was key for me.
Right. And the hard lesson was, well, for me at least, that you can never be everybody's superhero. Was that the same for you?
For me as well, I needed to learn how to take responsibility
Right.
for my own life before assuming that someone's gonna come and save my life.
Okay.
Yeah. I think on that note, I learned that nobody owes me anything. I'm not entitled to receive any help. But I think I should begin with taking responsibility of my own life, and I think different things just fall into place at the right time.
Okay, so this is really interesting because in the quest to help other people, you realized that you had to stop feeling entitled. Is that right?
Yeah, there was a book that I read recently about this book called The Entitlement Cure by Dr. John Townsend. And I think he spoke very much about how having a not the best childhood gave me a right to be entitled to certain help, and I think that was very wrong. I thought that was the fact that thinking that the world owes me. I don't think the world really owes me anything because so I think that reading that book really changed my perspective on how help is given, how help is received, and so on. So yeah, I think two things that I learned was the fact that I needed to acknowledge the pain that I went through.
Right.
And then once I acknowledged that I was in pain,
Right.
only then I could recognize that, hey, you know what, I'm in pain, let's do something about it.
Right.
Rather than continue to dwell on this pain and saying that, oh, okay, because I've had pretty crappy circumstances and that's the reason why you should help me out. That's the reason why I should get your special favor or so on. I think this was at the time when I realized that I didn't want to do motivational speaking anymore.
Okay.
At least not in this period of time.
Okay.
Because I realized that I was going through some difficult times and I needed to get myself together. I needed to journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so and that for me is also another life lesson. That every young person has to understand that we sometimes in a particular point in life we think we know it all from our perspective and it looks really real and really complete from our perspective, but then as we mature we suddenly realize that, hey, that wasn't complete. So I think what we can learn from Nicky's journey here is that you've got to allow yourself the time and the space to sort of journey a little bit.
Yeah.
So that you can see broader perspectives and wider horizons, I suppose. Correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point in time, you were getting pretty successful in that space, getting a lot of attention.
I think attention was something that came along with being a motivational speaker. I think it's like being a celebrity,
Sure.
Or maybe even a singer. I think if people know you and people talk about you, generally you get the attention. But I think where I was really coming from was the fact that despite of all that, I realized that I really wasn't happy on the inside. I think it was dangerous to actually live off those attention. I mean, we'll take social media for instance. At least for me, I'm not applying this to everyone else.
Sure.
I think it's unique to each person's journey. But I think for me, when I made motivational speaking into a career, I realized that I always needed to be out there and I needed to perhaps always put on a show. And it also came to my own realization that I'm pretty human as well. And you know, if I'm gonna be putting on a show all the time, it eventually came to a point where I was down and I didn't know who to turn to. You know, because everyone knows me.
You had to put on the show.
Yeah, and you had to put on the show, and I just realized that, you know, I can't live this way anymore.
Right.
And I think the other thing that came along with it was all the pride. When all that pride came along, you know, I became very confused between playing the role of the superstar,
Right.
the superhero,
Right.
and also the human being. You know,
Right.
there was just so much burdens to carry.
Right.
And when I didn't know what I needed to do, I didn't know where to turn to. I didn't have the humility to want to talk about, hey, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help
Struggling.
me out? Yeah, I think moving forward from that date, I don't know what held me back, but I think coming to realize that I didn't need to carry all of that on my own was quite a relief, and I could actually go to someone and say, hey, you know.
Right.
I think it was a lot easier to ask for help than to, you know, try and put on a show lah.
Right. What I've realized is sometimes being real allows people to connect with you a little bit better and allows us to be a bit more human. If there was something that you think in your last 10, 15 years that you really discovered that you wished everybody could know and could benefit from, what would that nugget of wisdom be?
I think if there's anything, don't be afraid to embrace vulnerability. Because I think vulnerability is what draws people together. And I think vulnerability also draws the support and the help we need to actually get through life. And being real, I think that's the biggest thing for me, at least. Being real, knowing when to say, I don't know, knowing when to say that I need help. Having friends, like real friends to just do life with is a very big thing. I mean, for me, I get my support from church, right? Different people get it from different areas. I even have friends who are outside church. You know, we go hiking and climbing together. But I think just having people to journey with and being vulnerable with is very integral. It's a very integral part of living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So don't just count your likes. Don't just live your life on social media. Go out there, get some friends, get a real life, build strong, real intimate relationships. And I really like the phrase of go on that journey together.